To own. Владеть. To own a house. Владеть домом. To own a factory. Владеть фабрикой. To own a pet. Владеть домашним питомцем. This house is mine. I own it. Это дом мой. Я владею им. Who owns this land? Кто владеет этой землей? A crown. Корона. To wear the crown. Носить корону. A crown of gold. Корона из золота. A crown is the headdress of gold worn by a king or a queen. Корона – это головной убор из золота, носимый королем и королевой. Kings and queens wear crowns at official ceremonies. Короли и королевы носят короны на официальных церемониях. To crown. Короновать. To be crowned. Быть коронованным. Where was Queen Elizabeth II crowned? Где была королева Елизавета II коронована? To reign. Править, царствовать. To reign over the country. To reign in the country. Править страной. The reigning monarch. Царствующий монарх. In Britain the monarch reigns, but has no real power. В Британии монарх правит, но не имеет никакой реальной власти. Reign. Правление. The longest reign in history. Самое долгое правление в истории. What do you know about the reign of King Henry VIII? Что ты знаешь о правлении короля Генри VIII? The reign of a king or queen is the time during which he or she rules. Правление короля или королевы – это время, в течение которого он или она управляет. To defeat. Наносить поражение, разбивать, побеждать. To defeat the enemy. Разбить врага. To defeat the army. Разгромить армию. To be defeated. Быть побежденным. The fleet of France and Spain was defeated by Admiral Nelson in the Battle of Trafalgar. Флот Франции и Испании был разгромлен адмиралом Нельсоном в Трафальгарском сражении. Undefeated. Непобедимый. King Arthur and his men were undefeated. Король Артур и его люди были непобедимыми. Defeat. Поражение. 6 wins and 3 defeats for the team. 6 побед и 3 поражения для команды. I never think about the possibility of defeat. Я никогда не думаю о возможности поражения. To remind. Напоминать, напомнить. To remind somebody of something. Напоминать кому-либо о чем-либо. To remind somebody to do something. Напомнить кому-то сделать что-то. Do I have to remind you about it again? Мне надо напоминать тебе об этом снова. Remind me to answer that letter. Напомни мне ответить на то письмо. He reminds me of his brother. Он напоминает мне о своем брате. This song reminds us of France. Песня напоминает нам о Франции. That reminds me... Кстати говоря. That reminds me... I must give some milk to the cat. Кстати говоря, я должен дать немного молока кошке. To touch. Трогать, касаться. To touch something. Трогать что-то. Don't touch the kettle. It's very hot. Не трогай котел, он очень горячий. One of the branches was just touching the water. Одна из ветвей просто касалась воды. Touch wood. Постучи по дереву. Some people say touch wood and often touch a piece of wood not to have bad luck. Некоторые люди говорят, постучи по дереву, и часто дотрагиваются до кусочка дерева, чтобы не иметь неприятностей. Touching. Трогательный. A touching story. Трогательная история. A touching film. Трогательный фильм. How touching. Как трогательно. A reason. Причина, повод, основание. Reasons. Причины. The only reason. Единственная причина. An important reason. Важная причина. A bad reason for something. Плохая причина для чего-то. Give me a reason for going there. Замотивируй меня пойти туда. Или, если дословно, дай мне свои причины идти туда. The reason why I am late is that I missed the bus. Причина, почему я опоздал, это то, что я пропустил автобус. We have a good reason to believe that he is lying. У нас есть веская причина верить в то, что он врет. We aren't going for the simple reason that we have no time. Мы не едем по простой причине, что у нас нет времени. To own. To own a house. To own a factory. To own a pet. This house is mine. I own it. Who owns this land? A crown. To wear the crown. A crown of gold. A crown is the headdress of gold worn by a king or a queen. Kings and queens wear crowns at official ceremonies. To crown. To be crowned. Where was Queen Elizabeth II crowned? To reign. To reign over the country. To reign in the country. The reigning monarch. In Britain the monarch reigns but has no real power. Reign. The longest reign in history. What do you know about the reign of King Henry VIII? The reign of a king or queen is the time during which he or she rules. To defeat. To defeat the enemy. To defeat the army. To be defeated. The fleet of France and Spain was defeated by Admiral Nelson in the Battle of Trafalgar. Undefeated. King Arthur and his men were undefeated. Defeat. 6 wins and 3 defeats for the team. I never think about the possibility of defeat. To remind. To remind somebody of something. To remind somebody to do something. Do I have to remind you about it again? Remind me to answer that letter. He reminds me of his brother. This song reminds us of France. That reminds me. That reminds me, I must give some milk to the cat. To touch. To touch something. Don't touch the kettle. It's very hot. One of the branches was just touching the water. Touch wood. Some people say touch wood and often touch a piece of wood not to have bad luck. Touching. A touching story. A touching film. How touching. A reason. Reasons. The only reason. An important reason. A bad reason for something. Give me a reason for going there. The reason why I am late is that I missed the bus. We have a good reason to believe that he is lying. We aren't going for the simple reason that we have no time. Remind me to answer that letter. Напомни мне ответить на то письмо. To touch something. Трогать что-то. An important reason. Важная причина. To wear the crown. Носить корону. To remind somebody to do something. Напомнить кому-то сделать что-то. To be defeated. Быть побежденным. To defeat the army. Разгромить армию. A bad reason for something. Плохая причина для чего-то. A touching film. Трогательный фильм. To defeat. Наносить поражение, разбивать, побеждать. King Arthur and his men were undefeated. Король Артур и его люди были непобедимыми. The fleet of France and Spain was defeated by Admiral Nelson in the Battle of Trafalgar. Флот Франции и Испании был разгромлен адмиралом Нельсоном в Трафальгарском сражении. A crown is the headdress of gold worn by a king or a queen. Корона – это головной убор из золота, носимый королем и королевой. To reign over the country. To reign in the country. Править страной. Reasons. Причины. Touching. Трогательный. We have a good reason to believe that he is lying. У нас есть веская причина верить в то, что он врет. The reign of a king or queen is the time during which he or she rules. Правление короля или королевы – это время, в течение которого он или она управляет. I never think about the possibility of defeat. Я никогда не думаю о возможности поражения. To defeat the enemy. Разбить врага. That reminds me. Кстати говоря. 6 wins and 3 defeats for the team. 6 побед и 3 поражения для команды. Kings and queens wear crowns at official ceremonies. Короли и королевы носят короны на официальных церемониях. A crown. Корона. We aren't going for the simple reason that we have no time. Мы не едем по простой причине, что у нас нет времени. Don't touch the kettle. It's very hot. Не трогай котел, он очень горячий. Where was Queen Elizabeth II crowned? Где была королева Елизавета II коронована? That reminds me, I must give some milk to the cat. Кстати говоря, я должен дать немного молока кошке. In Britain the monarch reigns, but has no real power. В Британии монарх правит, но не имеет никакой реальной власти. One of the branches was just touching the water. Одна из ветвей просто касалась воды. To own. Владеть. The reigning monarch. Царствующий монарх. Who owns this land? Кто владеет этой землей? Some people say, touch wood, and often touch a piece of wood not to have bad luck. Некоторые люди говорят, постучи по дереву, и часто дотрагиваются до кусочка дерева, чтобы не иметь неприятностей. Do I have to remind you about it again? Мне надо напоминать тебе об этом снова. What do you know about the reign of King Henry VIII? Что ты знаешь о правлении короля Генри VIII? Reign. Правление. This house is mine. I own it. Это дом мой. Я владею им. To own a pet. Владеть домашним питомцем. The reason why I am late is that I missed the bus. Причина, почему я опоздал, это то, что я пропустил автобус. Defeat. Поражение. A reason. Причина, повод, основание. To own a house. Владеть домом. He reminds me of his brother. Он напоминает мне о своем брате. A touching story. Трогательная история. To remind somebody of something. Напоминать кому-либо о чем-либо. The longest reign in history. Самое долгое правление в истории. A crown of gold. Корона из золота. To own a factory. Владеть фабрикой. Undefeated. Непобедимый. This song reminds us of France. Песня напоминает нам о Франции. How touching. Как трогательно. To crown. Короновать. To touch. Трогать, касаться. Touch wood. Постучи по дереву. To remind. Напоминать, напомнить. To be crowned. Быть коронованным. Give me a reason for going there. Замотивируй меня пойти туда. Или, если дословно, дай мне свои причины идти туда. The only reason. Единственная причина. To reign. Править, царствовать. Touch wood. To defeat. Give me a reason for going there. To own a house. Touching. The reigning monarch. To own. I never think about the possibility of defeat. King Arthur and his men were undefeated. To wear the crown. How touching! Reasons. That reminds me, I must give some milk to the cat. To reign. A crown. This house is mine. I own it. Remind me to answer that letter. A touching story. To own a factory. Six wins and 3 defeats for the team. Do I have to remind you about it again? To touch something. A bad reason for something. He reminds me of his brother. The fleet of France and Spain was defeated by Admiral Nelson in the Battle of Trafalgar. Who owns this land? The longest reign in history. Defeat. We have a good reason to believe that he is lying. In Britain the monarch reigns but has no real power. That reminds me, reign. To defeat the enemy. This song reminds us of France. What do you know about the reign of King Henry VIII? An important reason. To remind somebody of something. To remind. Undefeated. A touching film. To remind somebody to do something. The only reason. To touch. A crown of gold. Don't touch the kettle. It's very hot. We aren't going for the simple reason that we have no time. A reason. To be defeated. Where was Queen Elizabeth II crowned? To crown. To defeat the army. Some people say touch wood and often touch a piece of wood not to have bad luck. To be crowned. To own a pet. Kings and queens wear crowns at official ceremonies. To reign over the country. To reign in the country. A crown is the headdress of gold worn by a king or a queen. The reign of a king or queen is the time during which he or she rules. The reason why I am late is that I missed the bus. One of the branches was just touching the water. Touch wood.